Hey everyone, this is Tias about to do another quick video for you guys. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the use of dolls and statues, things of that sort in the occult practice. So the first thing I want to share is statues and dolls. En regla de Osha, Lukumi, Santeria practice are not required. Traditionally, they're more used for worshiping or as a symbolic use in these practices. However, I'm going to go into something a little bit more deeper to give you an understanding of why sometimes you'll see images such as this beautiful doll, Francisca, or maybe a statue of an Indian, or maybe this representation of Obatala in these practices. And a lot of it is more of spiritualism or folk magic. Understand, historically, the orishas do not reside in statues. The true seat of an orisha is found in a sacred stone or oda, or consecrated tools that are properly prepared and initiated and placed inside soperas or in their home. And they are crowned or they are initiated through a ceremony. Okay? These things, such as statues and dolls, are things that you can obviously purchase in a spiritual shop. And excuse me, I have a little bit of a cough, can be placed on spiritual altars as symbolic to represent kind of the synchronism to that particular orisha, or they can be synchronized with a muerto or an ancestor or whatever you want. They're very common, especially in Catholic religion. For example, you might see people who have a Virgin Mary statue or a St. Jude, and they're very, very devoted to this statue and place candles and offerings and things of that sort because it's symbolic of that energy or that saint or that deity. One of the common things that people fail to do when you buy a doll or a statue to place on a spiritual altar is they fail to cleanse these items, whether with some Florida water or cigar smoke. You need to understand that these things have been handled by people that might not be in the best state of mind. Maybe they're going through some personal issues, or maybe whatever the hell is going on with them. They might be a great person, who knows? But you still want to cleanse your items before you place them on a spiritual altar. There are statues that are placed on these practices, on the altars of these types of practices, and the main thing is they're symbolic. However, in spiritualism, folk magic, and other types of root work, there are times where people will purchase, for example, this beautiful doll, Francisca, and they will basically charge that doll with certain energies or chants, or they perform a certain ritual to grasp some kind of energy or trap some kind of spirit in it to be used in folk practices for rituals, protection, so forth. When I was a kid, I remember we had a Francisca, and I used to fear the hell out of this doll because I would swear that the doll would move, or I don't know, as a kid you see shit and you're like, hallucinating sometimes, or maybe you just are scared of things that, you're not familiar with. So just had to share that. But for example, this doll that I have here, the one in the back, Francisca, she's charged. I use her for spiritualism. She is not something that was initiated to me in my religion. She's not something that I was given through a proper ceremony. This is something that I purchased. I put clothes on her. I put certain things on her. And I did a certain ritual to charge her with energies to protect my home. And some people say, well, it's not initiated, it's not crowned, so it's not real. You guys need to be very careful of the improper use of these things. Should not be mixed with the religion, but more on the spiritualism side. And you can give them candles, you can give them prayers, songs, flowers, as a symbolic offering that their spirit, their energy is present. They can work with you if they're properly charged. This statue of Obatala is obviously just a representation of Obatala. It is not Obatala. Obatala is in a sopera, and it's certain tools that are initiating given to you when you crown saint. So big difference. This is not something you're going to receive when you go through proper initiations. This is just a representation, right? But as you can see, there's some water and small little offerings and a candle, just out of respect. In other spiritual systems or practices, these things can be used, however, to manipulate outcomes, to work folk magic and rituals. It is very common. It is something that a lot of spiritistas use. Sometimes spirits may inhabit physical vessels, especially in practices such as palomayombe. We may take a doll, cleanse it, prepare it, perform a ritual to charge it with an energy, and that physical vessel of this doll can actually inhabit a spirit. Meaning there could be an infumbe that lives inside of this Francisca, and she can work with me in regards to that lineage of Palo or other lineages such as Espiritismo. So these are not toys. If you go to a home or a botanica where you see these things and you think it's a toy, you think it's pretty, be careful. They might be charged. There might be something that is placed inside, and this is just the physical vessel where it lives. Just like we use pots and cauldrons to place certain spirits that will live there, dolls and statues can also be used as a vessel. So it's important that you don't mix these concepts between the actual practice, the religion, and the spiritualism or the folk practice of using dolls and statues. And statues are respectfully devoted symbols. I mean, don't get me wrong. Just because they're not initiated does not mean that there are not people out there that have these things in their home like I do, and they're not treated the same as a initiated altar. I respect my dolls and my statues because they're symbolic and they have meaning for me. And for example, this doll that you see here, Francisca, she is a vessel for something that is charged within her that I'm not going to disclose. Okay? And sometimes they can be symbolic towards a certain type of orisha that you're very devoted to. Obviously, I've dressed her with the colors of Oshun and Yemaya, so she has that representation of both waters, the salt and sweet water. So again, if you guys decide that this is something that you're into, make sure that you purchase something that really aligns with you, that you feel a connection with. If you're going to take it an extra step into folk root practices and start incorporating a spirit or using these physical vessels to inhabit the spirit, then it's important that you cleanse it and you know what you're actually doing. Because remember, there are good spirits and there are bad spirits. So if you incorporate the wrong type of energy into one of these vessels, you're probably stuck with it and it's going to make your life a living hell. So that's why it's important that you guys know what you're doing, study, and not just start doing random shit because you want to be powerful or you want to play witch. This is just a quick video to show you guys that these are just as important as an initiated tool. Francisca, mi negra, always with me here. She sees everything. She speaks everything. H y bendiciones.